Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello. How are you? Welcome to Beatles Significa, Beatles trivia in plain English. Beatles Significa comes from this card deck. It's a card game from the 1980s called Beatles Significa. The music, the history, a game. Anyway, that's where the title of this little podcast comes from. But that is for later. So welcome, welcome. It's noon, high noon. Time to play a little Beatles trivia. My name's Sharon Schultz. I'm known as the Bay Lady. I do virtual tours in and around the Chesapeake Bay area of Maryland, Baltimore, and such. And I also do these little tidbit thingies here as well. So if you want to know more about my tours, if you want information on them, you want to be notified when they're happening, you can follow me on Facebook, The Bay Lady, my page. And also you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sharon Schultz, The Bay Lady. So there you have it. Also on my social media pages, there you can see my live streams on YouTube and on Facebook, but there are also links to half a dozen other platforms where my tours appear in calendars and such, along with other virtual tour guides. So you might want to check that out. You might find yourself some nice new tours and such. And the other thing, you'll find a link to buy me a coffee. That is where you can support my content, which is always greatly appreciated. So recently I went and purchased some Beatles quiz books, trivia books. I have a few of them over here. They're new. I haven't done this one yet, so I thought we would start here. Why not? This is the Beatles quiz book. It's called 250 Questions to Test Your Knowledge of the Best-Selling Group in History. Woohoo! Hello, how are you? The other thing that I want to let you know, well, I don't know if you've been following Paul McCartney. He has a new album that will be released the end of this month. I've already pre-ordered my CD, of course. And he's been releasing little tidbits here and there. He's got 3 songs out, I think 3 or 4, I don't know. But what I want to do today, before we get started on trivia, I want to let you hear Home to Us. That is a song that Paul wrote and recorded with Ringo. So you've got a Beatles reunion going on here. You've got Paul and Ringo. And the most interesting thing, a trivia question I didn't know, is that Paul and Ringo never did a duet together. This is their first, the first duet. I'm glad you're good. Hope everybody else out there is good. I see there's some people on YouTube there that are chatting. And what about Facebook? I don't see anybody popping up from Facebook yet, but the afternoon is young. Huh? It just started, right? Anyway, so let's do this. Alexa, play Paul McCartney's new song, Home to Us.
Home to Us by Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr on Amazon Music.
There we go. Alexa, increase volume. I'm thinking you can hear that, right? Hey, Jake. Was home to us. I love it. Pretty good, right? Awesome. Alexa, dismiss. There we go. So that was pretty good. The songs that I have heard so far from Paul's album are just awesome. Awesome is all I can say. I like the nostalgia, maybe because I'm into it. I'm a little older, just like him. Oh well. Anyway, I've been enjoying the first. He released the first cut, and then oh, there's this cute little song about cake and cups. I love it. That is really nice. And now, of course, the last thing, the most recent thing that he's let loose of is Home to Us with Ringo. So awesome, right? Very good. Okay, now trivia time, right? This is 250 questions. I'll read you the back cover too. It says, do you really know the Beatles? Have you picked up lots of little known facts about the group over the years? Then the time has come now to put your knowledge to the test with this enjoyable quiz about the most successful and best-selling group of all time. This book contains 250 informative and entertaining questions, all with multiple choice answers. Some questions are easy, some are more challenging, and all of them are designed to test your knowledge of the Beatles and teach you a new fact or two. You know, that's always a given. Every time I do one of these, I always come away with information I didn't have to start. The book is packed with information, and is a must-have for all true Beatle fans. Okay, so this book was put together by Colin Carter. That's the author. And he is a true enthusiast of the Beatles, spent many hours listening to their music over the years. He has lovingly crafted a must-have book for Beatle fans of all ages worldwide. Colin loves facts and figures, trifles and trivia, and he is an expert at creating fun and informative quizzes to entertain people of all ages. So I say, why don't we find out? Okay. Get to chapter 1. Okay. Chapter 1, easy start. Okay, I will go through all the questions first and then follow up with the answers, okay? So chapter 1, easy start. We'll see how easy. There are 10 questions. The first, which city were all of the Beatles born in? Which city were all of the Beatles born in? Was it Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, or London? Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, or London? Who was the youngest? John, Paul, George, or Ringo? The youngest Beatle. John, Paul, George, Ringo. Who was the shortest in height? Who was the shortest in height? John, Paul, George, or Ringo? John, Paul, George, or Ringo. Who was the shortest? Wonder who the tallest was then. When did John and Paul meet for the first time? Question number 4. When did John and Paul meet for the first time? Okay, now these are dates. Was it January 6th? All the dates are 1957. Okay, they're all 1957. Was it January 6th, April 6th, July 6th, or October 6th? Was it January 6th, April 6th, July 6th, or October 6th of 1957? Where did John and Paul meet for the first time? Where did they meet? Was it at a church fair, the circus, a fun fair, or at school? Where did they meet for the first time? A circus fair, a church fair, a circus, a fun fair, or school. Number 6, where did Paul and George meet? Where did Paul and George meet? Was it at a snooker club? What is a snooker club? Do you all know? I don't know. No clue. Was it at a snooker club, music school classes, or at school music classes, on a bus, or on the River Mersey ferry? Where did Paul and George meet? At the snooker club, at school during music classes, on a bus, or on the River Mersey ferry? Which band had John formed before he had met any of the other Beatles? Number 7, which band had John formed before meeting any of the other Beatles? Was it the Cavemen, the Highwaymen, the Quarrymen, or the Weathermen? Cavemen, Highwaymen, Quarrymen, Weathermen. What was the group's early nickname? Number 8. What was the group's early nickname? Was it the Fab Four, Fantastic Four, Fresh Four, or Friendly Four? Okay, the group's early nickname: Fab Four, Fantastic Four, Fresh Four, Friendly Four. What was, question number 9, what was the group's first single? What was the Beatles' first single? Was it From Me to You, Love Me Do, Please Please Me, or She Loves You? From Me to You, Love Me Do, Please Please Me, or She Loves You? Okay, last question in chapter 1. Question number 10. What was the group's debut album? What was the group's debut album? Was it Introducing the Beatles, Meet the Beatles, Please Please Me, or With the Beatles? Okay, so what was their debut album? Now, keep in mind, I'm going to throw this in here to complicate things just a tad. Keep in mind that the title of the Beatles' first album released in the U.S. could be different from the title of the Beatles' first album released in the UK. They didn't always match up. They didn't always contain the same songs or have the same album cover. Now, this question doesn't differentiate between the UK or the US. It's just asking what the group's debut album was. Introducing the Beatles, Meet the Beatles, Please Please Me, or With the Beatles. Okay. All right, so ready for the answers now. For chapter 1, first question, or the answer, is that all 4 members of the group were born in Liverpool. All 4 members were born in Liverpool. Number 2, George is the youngest. George is the youngest. The order by oldest to youngest: Ringo, John, Paul, and George. Ringo, John, Paul, and George. Question number 3, who is the shortest? At 5'6" that would be Ringo. Ringo was the shortest in height of the Beatles at 5 feet 6 inches. Then George was 5'10". John was 5'11", as was Paul. Okay, so John and Paul tie. Oh, you know what? If you look at them singing, they are the same height, kind of, aren't they? But you don't really notice that George is shortest. Now, you know that Ringo is, ironically, just because of their photos when he's not playing the drums. Okay, the first time John and Paul met in 1957 was on July 6th, summertime. Okay, July 6th is the answer to number 4, and that goes into question number 5, where, the when and the where. So on July 6, 1957, John was performing with the Quarrymen at the Woolton Parish Church. They were having a garden party. After the show, Paul introduced himself to John and played a few songs, including Eddie Cochran's 20 Flight Rock, which obviously impressed John. 2 weeks later, he asked Paul to join the band. Question number 6, where did Paul and George meet? They met for the first time on a bus on their way to school. Number 7, the Quarrymen were formed by John in 1956, which evolved into the Beatles 4 years later in 1960. The band was named after John's school, Quarry Bank High School. Question 8, the band picked up the nickname the Fab Four early in their careers. Question 9, the group's debut single released in October of 62 was Love Me Do. October 1962, the Beatles released their first single, Love Me Do. And question 10, Please Please Me was the first album released by the Beatles in March of 1963. Please Please Me. Okay, that was good. Shall we do another chapter? How about chapter number 2, the early days? Chapter number 2, the early days. 10 more questions going on here. All right. Okay. What was the name of the club the band regularly played gigs at in Liverpool? The name of the club where the band regularly performed. What would that be? Is it the Carmel Club, the Casino Club, the Casual Club, or the Cavern Club? Carmel, Casino, Casual, or Cavern? Which should it be? Second question. Where did the Beatles play in residence in Germany in the 1960s? Where did the Beatles play in Germany in the 1960s? Was it Berlin, Frankfurt, Hamburg, or Munich? Berlin, Frankfurt, Hamburg, or Munich? Who was the band's record producer? Number 3. Who was the band's record producer? Was it Eddie Kramer, George Martin, Tom Parker, or Alan Parsons? Eddie Kramer, George Martin, Tom Parker, or Alan Parsons? Number 4, what was Brian Epstein's relationship with the band? Who was Brian Epstein to the band? Was he legal counsel, manager, media liaison officer, or a psychotherapist? Who was the band's record? What was Brian's relationship with the band? What was he? What was his function? Legal counsel, manager, media liaison officer, or a psychotherapist? Number 5, who was the band's road manager? Who was the road manager for the Beatles? Was it Mal Elliott, Mal Ellis, Mal Emery, or Mal Evans? Was it Mal Elliott, Mal Ellis, Mal Emery, or Mal Evans? Who was the road manager? Number 6, what was the name of the musical movement in Liverpool in the 1960s? The name of the musical movement in Liverpool in the early 1960s. Was it the Mercy Beat, Mercy Mods, Mercy Music, or Mercy Tunes? Mercy Beat, Mercy Mods, Mercy Music, Mercy Tunes. 7, who was the original bass guitarist who left the band in 1961? Who was the original bass guitarist who left the band in 1961? Was it Frank Allen, Rory Storm, Stuart Sutcliffe, or Terry Sylvester? Frank Allen, Rory Storm, Stuart Sutcliffe, or Terry Sylvester? Which company first signed the Beatles? Which company first signed the Beatles? Was it Atlantic Records, Capitol Records, EMI, or Island? Atlantic, Capitol, EMI, or Island? Question 9. Number 9. What is the first track on the Please Please Me album? What is the first track on the Please Please Me album? Is it I Saw Her Standing There, Love Me Do, Please Please Me, or There's a Place? I Saw Her Standing There, Love Me Do, Please Please Me, or There's a Place? Question number 20. What did George Martin say to the group at the end of the studio recording of Please Please Me in November of 1962? What did George Martin say to the Beatles at the end of the recording session for Please Please Me in November of 1962? Did he say, let's all go and have a pint? Stick with me and you'll go far. You guys are improving. You've just made your first number one. Again, the choices of what George said to the guys. Let's all go and have a pint. Stick with me and you'll go far. You guys are improving. Or you've just made your first number one. All right, that was fun. Let's have the answers now. Chapter 2 answers question 1. The Cavern Club was the club the band regularly played gigs at in the early days. The club is still there and regularly has Beatles cover bands playing sets there. That's interesting. So if you ever get to Liverpool, go to the Cavern Club. Question 2, the Beatles played 5 residences in total in Hamburg. The answer was Hamburg. Number 3, the Beatles auditioned for George Martin in 1962. He was key to the Beatles' success, and when he died, Paul said, if anyone earned the title of the 5th Beatle, it was George. Question 4. Epstein was the group's manager from 1962 until his death in 1967, age 32 years old. Number 4. Epstein was the group's manager from 1962 until his death in 1967 at age 32. Mal Evans was the group's road manager from 1963 to 1970. So that was Mal Evans. Number 6, Mercy Beat was the movement that attracted many Liverpool-based singers and groups in the early 1960s. It was called Mercy Beat. Number 7, it was Stuart Sutcliffe, who was the original bass guitarist in John's band. He left to pursue his career as a painter, but he died at the age of 21 in 1962 from a brain hemorrhage. Stu and John came up with the name The Beatles as they were both fans of Buddy Holly and the Crickets. Question 8, in 1962, George Martin signed the band to EMI's Parlophone label. EMI was the Beatles' first label. Question 9, the first track on the Please Please Me album, I Saw Her Standing There, written primarily by Paul. Please Please Me album, first track, I Saw Her Standing There. Last question, number 10. After encouraging the group to re-record Please Please Me at a faster tempo, George Martin declared to the group, you've just made your first number one. It was after encouraging them to re-record Please Please Me at a faster tempo, Martin told them, you've just made your first number one. Very cool. Yes, indeed. All right, so I am going to wrap it up here. Look at all these books I have for future endeavors, not to mention my Beatles Significa. Okay, so yeah, I have a few books here. I do. That's a good thing. Okay, so for updates on my tours, information about my tours, again, please visit my social media pages. That would be Sharon Schultz, the Bay Lady on YouTube, and the Bay Lady on Facebook. And also, as I said, there's links to platforms that carry my tours, and you might want to explore them for some of my co-tour guides as well, see what they're up to. And also, you'll find a link to support my content at buymeacoffee.com. Okay, thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and I will see you soon.